Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Let's Talk LIMS podcast, the official podcast of the Leadership Institute for Military Spouses. I'm your host, Tony Castillo. And in today's episode, we're going to dive into the Emerging Leaders Program over at LIMS, and we're going to put the spotlight, we're going to shine that spotlight on the instructors behind the program. So, with me today, I am honored to welcome the instructors of the ELP program, Corey Weathers, Krista Simpson Anderson, and Brittany Bacher. I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be a part of this episode. And I'm so excited to dive into the Emerging Leaders Program. And I have to ask a very important question. How are all of you doing today?
I'm here. I am here. That's how I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm doing great as well. Tony, thank you so much for inviting us. It's kind of literally be like herding cats. I'm seeing your amazing kitten behind you right now, but it'll be like herding cats to have the three of us have a coherent conversation at the same time. But we're excited to be here and honored, honestly, to be a part of MSAN and what they're doing for spouses. I'm sure we could all share the role that your mom has had in our lives, but also just the role that other mentors, military spouses as mentors have been in each of our lives as well that got us to this point. So thank you for having us.
No problem.
She said it all.
Problem.
Yeah, seriously. That's why we have her. She leads, we follow.
I love that. Y'all are amazing leaders to begin with before we keep going. I just want to establish that. So obviously we're going to discuss the Emerging Leaders Program, but I figured we would talk about your journey to becoming the instructor of that program, and then also the experiences you've had as instructors and the importance of mentorship and the teaching that goes on. And then we'll kind of talk about and go through a wide lens perspective and think about how this impacts the graduates and go through some advice that you may have for someone that may be on the fence about applying for this program. Now, before we dive in, though, I want to, for some of our listeners who may not know you or may not be familiar with the program, what is your role specifically with the Emerging Leaders Program, all three of you?
I'm going to let Corey start that.
So my name is Corey. If I haven't had the chance to meet some of you guys that are listening, my husband is still in. We've been in for about 18 years now. And what I do as far as part of the program is I teach on strengths. So I use the Gallup Strength Finder assessment, which I have found I'm a licensed professional counselor by trade and also an executive coach. And I have just found, especially over the last 10 to 15 years using the Gallup Strength Finder, it do wonders for not only your relationships and your communication, but also decreasing conflict. But I really see it for a lot of people, helping them navigate by knowing what your strengths are and then letting go and managing what your weaknesses are, which is kind of different from what the world usually encourages you to do. The world usually says, if you're not good at something, go figure out how to be better at it. Whereas this is a different approach. It says you may never be amazing at the things that you're not good at, and instead focus on the things that you're awesome at. And so I've found, especially for the spouse community, when we all are navigating a very crazy career path or a leadership path, or just trying to figure out, especially if you're active duty and going through lots of relocations, it can be really challenging to figure out what you're good at, where to plug in. And so whether you are a volunteer, whether you're trying to pursue a specific career or trying to decide where you want to go, I've found that the Strength Finder assessment is just amazing for helping you really channel that energy in a direction that you're more likely to be successful at. So for the first section, the first workshop of this program, I walk these amazing military spouses through understanding what their strengths are, understanding their report, and really starting to learn how to shift their thinking into knowing what you're good at and focusing on that more often, and also how to delegate and work with other people, even if they have contrasting strengths from yours. So I think last, I would just say how I got here, honestly, I met your mom in 2015, and she literally took me by the arm when I was a lost military spouse, trying to figure out what to do with myself and what to do in this community and how to channel my strengths and my energy. And she was a kind, warm presence that just reminded me that I wasn't alone. And I will never forget that first encounter with her at that purple table, where she was already doing the amazing things that we now see her and the whole organization team, and now you included, doing what they're doing today. And so it has been just an honor to give back for what she invested in my life, and how she, the feeling that she gave me as far as support, to see that now evolve over time, where not only I can give back, but we have just multiplying each year spouses that are poured into, invested in, encouraged, championed, and then kind of pushed out into the world and say, now you go do great things. So I'm honored to be a part of this program. So I do the first part of the workshop. And then I usually hand it over to Brittany. So Brittany, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you. So I guess I'll start in a little different order. So I met Berenice in 2016. And just like Corey said, it was from the very beginning, just meeting her. It was so welcoming, getting to know her. She just was like the person waiting there to guide you through this process. And I guess I'd be remiss if I said the way I met her was through the Military Spouse of the Year program. And honestly, that's how I know everyone on this call, is from that award program. And so she was just there to really walk, I know for me, and like Corey said, walk through that journey of, getting to know other military spouses, really seeing kind of the impact you could make, really encouraging that. And so for me, it's what kind of evolved me into the Discovering Your Spark platform. And that's what I'm known for. And that platform is really focused on like discovering your why in a different way from Corey and Strengths, but like discovering like, why are you doing this? Why do you want to do that? What is the purpose you're trying to do? And as a military spouse, it's kind of scary to ask yourself those questions, because we are not actually told, like there's no rule there saying you can't achieve these things, but we have a big wall in front of us of challenges that military spouses are going to face, period. That's relocation challenges. It's family dynamic challenges. It's, the unpredictability of the military, and are you able to commit and do something that you really love to do for a long period of time? And so my whole role was to come and pour into this space and say, listen, you have the ability to do what you want to do. It may just look different than what you thought it was going to look like. And so let's reframe. Let's figure out the why. Let's not focus so much on, I want to be a nurse. Why do you want to be a nurse? What is everything else that you could do in your life that would help you feel and get the same feeling if you were to be a nurse? And let's look at all of those and see that life might just look a little different right now, but we can still achieve that fulfillment of the why. And so that leads into being able to do this emerging leader, and being able to take what Corey does with strengths and incorporate that into my section of saying, okay, recognize those strengths and let's incorporate that into your discovering your leadership style, your authentic leadership style. How are you showing up as a leader in your home, in your community, in your profession? Because I think we think of leaders and we go straight to job, title, role, financial compensation. And we don't think we're a leader starting in our home every day. And so that's really my section of this, is working to get into that more like the emotional piece of the why, and really figuring that out and helping you discover how your strengths, your why, determine your overall, leadership style. And then it goes to Krista.
Thank you. Well, I mean, after you've learned everything you need to know about yourself and about life and challenges and everything, my goal is to kind of help you organize that and prepare really in advance. What are the challenges that you have ahead? Well, let's think about what the resources are that you need. And so, I provide what I call a life binder. And so this is the first page of the first tab of the life binder. And so the accomplishments are the Emerging Leaders Program certificate, of course, and then Corey's is Leadership and Strengths. Brittany is a leader's journey, and then mine is Leadership and the Unexpected. And then it goes on to Berenice teaches the Intro to Meta Leadership. And so with the binder itself, there's 12 tabs, and we go through in advance. Actually, their homework is to kind of go through all of their important documents and important paperwork. And it really is interesting when I teach here and out to active duty and their spouses. It's about 50 to 75% of families do not have wills and powers of attorney or have identified guardianship for their children if that is needed at some point in time. And so it's really important to just think about that. I think the most important part to me is I don't want them to live there, right? We're thinking about a lot of terrible situations. My favorite part, as I'm sure the ladies can tell you, is the last wishes piece of it, right? And I usually tell people just, text your spouse, call your spouse and say, we're going to have date night tonight, open a really nice bottle of wine, and we're going to plan our funeral, and it's going to be fun. And people are like, what? I'm like, yes, it's going to be a blast. I promise. But if you've never had those conversations, and then all of a sudden one day you can't, right? I mean, these are conversations you have to have while the two people are in the room. And I suggest, right, that you have these conversations with your kids and with your parents. And so, Tony, hopefully you have a life binder. If you don't, I'm going to send you one tomorrow. But it's really important. The goal is, and I'll actually show you mine. And I don't even have everything in here. I have an additional one, but this is my binder.
But this is critical, though, Krista, because if you think about it, like, obviously this is an emerging leader, and somebody may be thinking, okay, but preparing for that. When you go back to what I said, being the leader in your home, like, this is critical to the leadership in your home of having these decisions made, having this information. It's in one place. And like you said, you don't live there. We have to do it. And then it's there. And I can check this off. Like, it's done.
Right.
I don't have to carry this and worry about it.
Mm-hmm. And Corey often talks about, right, like playing that tape through will help you reduce the anxiety of the unknown, right? So facing it head on what could happen. Also, that also means if the hot water tank blows in the house, right? Do you have an emergency fund, or do you know that you're going to have to call, for example, Army Emergency Relief, right? Or find another resource that can financially help you replace that. If a pipe bursts, do you know where the valve is to shut off your water? So it's not just death, right? I mean, I know that that's the hardest conversation to have, but the whole program really is to create that foundation of readiness and to be in a mindset of thinking ahead, but again, not living there in the fear of what could happen next, right? And say, okay, if this happens, this is my plan. And in my binder, I have what I need. And the other part of it is that if you need to leave the house quickly, you can grab the binder and start over. Everything is in there: your birth certificates, marriage certificates, wills, powers of attorney, the title to your vehicle, username and passwords to things. And so we talk about that and really creating a system. So leadership through systems, and how is that helpful? And they're going to use their strengths and then everything that they're learning from Brittany in the whole, right? Like ours, all three of our programs really go together when you look at it kind of from 30,000 feet, if you will. And everything that they're learning in each of the modules are going to be able to just come full circle. And as I talked about, the last wishes piece of it is it's an opportunity for you and your family to sit down and talk about to talk about legacy and values. What are your family values? What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want? And some people are like, I never even thought of that. And now I want to start talking to my kids about that. And so it's a lot of fun, I think.
Thank you so much, all three of you, for sharing your roles within the Emerging Leaders Program. I was honored to be a part of the last cohort of 2025, and I learned so much just by listening to all three of you. And I remember it even got to a point where I was taking a lot of notes about my strengths, things that are important to me, resources that I think that I need to have as I grow up, and things of that nature, and how to apply the strengths that I have to, both my professional and personal life. And I learned so much. And just to hear this discussion again, it's like deja vu, hearing it from all three of you guys again. So thank you for that. And you nailed everything in terms of talking about the program itself. And now I want to talk about the mentorship.
I didn't tell you how I met Berenice.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
right
I'm
ahead.
really just kind of reiterating. I realize that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no problem.
I did actually, same through the Military Spouse of the Year program. I met her in 2018. And, I think why we're all here today is because of her incredible vision, her and her team, and what she's built since 2013. It's just, I am in awe. I know we all are, in just awe of how she has brought Military Spouse Advocacy Network from 2013 to today, and just what a incredible program it is, and how many people really believe in it and endorse it. And that's not an easy thing to do in this space. And I think for me, I'm just blessed that she believed in what I did to want to bring it to other military spouses.
Thank you so much for, going and giving such amazing in-depth answers about not only your role within the Emerging Leaders Program, but how they're connected together, and how it's all a part of your leadership journey, especially as the beginning of it. And now that makes me want to talk about mentorship and the teaching aspect that all three of you have as instructors. What challenges do you notice that military spouses often face when they come into this program?
Oh goodness. So I think all of us pause because there's so many. And depending on what that spouse is passionate about and what they want to do or not do, like I think there's so many obstacles that spouses face. I know for me, as a professional that holds licenses and certifications, like that has been an incredible challenge for me. At one point I had 5 licenses in 5 different states, and then I'm fighting and advocating with TRICARE to be a provider. Like it just was a crazy set of challenges that caused me to have to pivot many times. And honestly, when I look at other spouses now, I think because of my own challenges, and I'm working with a spouse that is either whatever track they're on, whether they're just in the beginning trying to figure out what they want to do, or they want to start a business, or they want to start a nonprofit, or they just want a job, or they just want to be a volunteer leader. I think that my experience of moving through all of those challenges has helped me see the value sometimes of them too. That I used to be so frustrated. And when I mean frustrated, I mean fetal position on the floor, crying, frustrated, more like grief and anger. I'll just be honest, complete anger and resentment at some of the roadblocks that I was facing that caused me to have to think creatively and have to pivot. I think I can look back now and see the value of pivoting and being creative as a spouse. Whereas, now I'm going into 2026 and thinking about how can I pivot? Not, man, I have to pivot, but like I have the opportunity to pivot, and that this lifestyle, with all of its challenges, can sometimes creatively give me opportunities to think outside of the box. And would I have wanted it that way? On some days, no. But on other days, I'm grateful that I can be creative. Now, I don't think that that is true of every spouse's story. There are some spouses out there that are trying to become leaders because they're in great need of being a dual income home, and there's a lot of pressure to take that next right step. And so I think there are so many challenges depending on your need, depending on, like Brittany talks about, like where your why is coming from and how to reframe that. If you're coming into these set of challenges because there are some external, very real needs like income, or there are emotional needs that have you in a desperate place where you are longing for a sense of purpose and you feel behind in that sense, that's a different kind of why. That's a different kind of like, what is it that I'm trying to do here? And how am I trying to face these obstacles? So I would say I think the other ladies here can talk about just the amount of challenges that we face, but definitely there is spouses that are trying to find a sense of purpose, and it is okay and healthy. So I'll just speak from the psychological perspective that it is okay and healthy to want to do something purposeful. It's also okay to be at home, and like Brittany talked about, we talk about in these workshops when we've envisioned and worked with MSAN on what this program would look like. We really like kind of worked all together to talk about what really is important here. And like Brittany described, starting from a place from within and really being a leader of yourself first and really knowing who you are and what you have to offer your surrounding. And then that goes to your family, and then that goes maybe to your community, and then that goes outward from there. But if you don't know yourself, and if you don't wrestle with these whys internally, you will accidentally go out and apply these needs, whatever they are, to anything just to feel like you're doing something purposeful. So I just want to say, it is okay for some of this. And I think it's important for all of us to give permission to the spouse out there that just wants to feel like she is just growing in her sense of purpose, growing in her sense of self-awareness, and just having personal growth so she can be the best person she can be, leader of herself and leader in her home, and his home, and that can be enough. I was a stay-at-home mom for several years where I wasn't working. I try to tell spouses, like, you're not wasting time by doing that. That is a very important season. If that's what you want to do, that's okay. And we need to give permission for that. But that there are other challenges of not just finding purpose and identity, but also, like I said, income, but also challenging yourself and wanting to stretch yourself and to do hard things. And that can be really hard in this lifestyle, to continuously challenge yourself when life is, and military life is throwing you a curveball and like throwing you onto a completely different train track that you have to learn, evaluate, figure out how you can plug in. And for some spouses on the professional side, it can take 6 months to a year to even get the credentials to even get going on that train track before you're like put on a different train track altogether and starting over. So I'll pass it to the other girls as far as like some of the other challenges that they face and that they're seeing. But I think the answer is a gazillion challenges. I think our approach is how are we going to accept it? How are we going to face them? And then what are we going to do within that, whatever is within our control, to face them and then to bring purpose out of it.
Yeah, I mean, and so much of what you said is the same thing that I would say, but to kind of piggyback there, I wrote down just a few things. Like when I'm working with military spouses, I go back to, I became a military spouse in 2005. And I really, truthfully, almost the first 10 years of military spouse life, dug my feet in and was absolutely miserable in the life because of every challenge that came before. And in that, it kind of leads to, I was living life as military was happening to me. I wasn't living life as a military spouse like I was living military life. Instead, I was getting through every day as military life's happening to me. This is a roadblock. This is a prevention I can't do. I was constantly the poster child of I can't. And then I got to the point of kind of I want to tie this to the mentor piece, because it was leaders and mentorship roles who showed up in the unpredictability, who showed up in the challenges, who set the example and mentored and helped me see like this is something that I was self-imposing to a point. Like, how could I take a challenge and turn it into an opportunity? How could I have taken it I can't and turn it into what I can do right now? Absolutely, there are things that you're not going to be able to do in a certain season of military life, but there was a lot of things that I could have done that I missed doing. So, tying that to like these mentors and leaders who showed up along the path and really like anchoring to them and taking their guidance and being able to say, okay, I can do this. I have to change my mindset. I need to change. I have to do this too. I get to do this. I get to move here. I get to experience something new. I wouldn't have the relationship that I have right now with the us three if it wasn't for this very it's the most predictable, unpredictable life that you can live. You
Right.
can 100% it's predictable that it's going to be unpredictable. We know that. That is like my motto.
Yeah.
Um, but it was with each of them because in their own respect, they've each been a mentor to me in my journey. And there have been moments where I've been a mentor to them in something that they were trying to navigate and
Mhm.
being able to realize like along the line to get to where we are today, not only are we instructors for this, but at the end of the day, we're mentors. We're mentoring leaders in of learning this journey. Nothing new, nothing I always say I'm not teaching anything that's like brand new. It's just stuff that how it's taught and how we recognize it and the examples and scenarios and having somebody believe in you enough to say, you absolutely can do this. You absolutely can take this strength. You absolutely don't have to be in this unprepared state. So that's mine. Krista, what do you think?
I think once you learn who you are and what you're good at and why you're good at it with Corey, and then you get through your what is your passion and purpose in life and how can that look differently than what you thought it was going to be, and how do you lead in that space? For me, a lot of it is, and they've said I could just nod and give you a thumbs up and not talk really, but that's not me. So um, I'll go on to say that I think the first thing that I like to instill, if possible, is humility, right? You have to you have to sit back and go, okay, um, I'm going to learn from other people every single day of my life, even when I think that I know everything. Right? Even in that moment, all of a sudden you think, I've made it. I know everything. Well, military life crashes crashes that to bits and pieces, right? So it's a very humbling time, I think, as you're going through your journey in this military life, whether it's you're brand new or you're retired or you've lost someone, and I think that what this does for us, and Brittany and Corey and Berenice have taught me so much, not only in their respective fields, if you will, and their expertise, but they've taught me so much about myself and that what I have is of value. And what I have to teach is of value. And I hope that these spouses understand that, because what we're trying to do is give them the opportunity and the courage and empower them to lead themselves, lead in their home, and lead in their community. And all the tools that we're giving them are going to allow them to do that. And this, as Brittany said, right, you can plan on every day being, didn't you used to call it controlled chaos or something?
Oh yeah. A
Right.
hundred. Yeah.
um, but I think that there's so many things that you can do to mitigate that unknown chaos, or the unknown turning into chaos, and also feeling like, I mean, I remember
when right before my first son was born, I said, I am going to go back to work. He's going to be 3 months old. I'm going right back to work. When he hits that 3-month mark, there's no way that I can stay home. I'll never be able to do it. I have not been back to work since, and he is 16 years old. All right. And frankly, I have no plans, right? I'm like, my husband's working on his second pension. That one's going to be for me, whichever one's bigger is going to be for me.
She says she hasn't worked, and we know that she works more than like any person we've probably met. The amount that she pours.
Haven't even consistent, right? I mean, I just love to torture myself. Nothing can be consistent in my life.
Well, that's why we have Brittany to organize us all.
That's right.
Can I just jump in on this topic though, really quick? Tony and Krista said something that I definitely wanted to make sure that we stressed, which is the importance of how mentoring can be. I would use the framework of strengths-based. I would say, definitely within this group, but I think we could all look at our journey, like Brittany said, and say that there were certain personalities, there were certain people that stepped in along the way that gave us wisdom or gave us insight. And so that's number one, is that anybody can be a mentor. And you'd be surprised, all those listening, at how many times you probably have mentored somebody and you didn't realize that it felt like mentoring to someone else. And so you can be a mentor at every season. And yeah, something I'm learning actively right now is that we are, I think 4 months into being empty nesters, and knowing what that feels like now. And so I can say that this is also very seasonal. Like, I very much recognize that I have, believe it or not, I have had a surge of energy since I recovered from all the parenting we just did. So like, give yourself a chance to like rest and eat like TV dinners for like 2 months after you first launched those kids. But like, I already sense like a great desire to give back. And for example, there's a military spouse here in town. We're in San Antonio, where you are as well, Tony. And there's another military spouse. In fact, you probably, many of the spouses in this program or who might be listening might know of Lindsay Swoboda, who just launched an amazing book as well. She's here in San Antonio. And I remember when I first got here, she was like, let's go for a walk. And I was so quick to go, you know what, I will drive to you because you have small children and I don't. And I don't mind driving across town 45 minutes because I have nothing really going on. I have nobody to pick up. I have nobody to race home for dinner. And so I even surprised myself that I have this surge of energy that I did not have before. And so I think this is also about, as you're getting to know yourself, as you're getting to know what your strengths are and how you want to gift it into the world, to give yourself the permission to be at various seasons of life, that you may have less energy now, more energy later, or vice versa. And that's really, I really want to be, and I've said this several times on this call already, but to just be graceful with yourself in whatever season you're in, that you might have more to offer than you think you do. And if you feel like you have nothing to offer, that it is okay to rest and just take care of yourself, invest in yourself, build some skills, and know that you will probably get energy to give back later. And so it's also okay to be in a place of need and ask for help and ask for that mentoring.
I love everything that I heard from the three of you. It's just amazing to hear the mentorship that, it's kind of everyone has the ability to be a mentor, and you probably have mentored someone you don't even know it. And it's amazing to hear, I always believe that, the way how I carry myself, at least, is I don't ever want to say or feel like I'm the smartest person in the room, because everyone has a story. Everyone has something to teach. I want to learn that from them. And to be able to say at the end of the day, I learned something new from someone. And I love that you brought that aspect up of this course, because I believe that that is important for anyone's journey, whether you're starting or if you've been on your leadership journey for a while. This is important to learn at any point. And now with that, we've talked so much about mentorship and the program itself. I kind of just want to jump to the bigger picture and kind of something that the listeners would probably want to hear, for those that may be on the fence about joining ELP. What would you say to those people that are on the fence? What would you tell them?
I'm going to let somebody else go first.
I'll start. We'll go backwards.
Okay.
I would say Generally, I think for military spouses, and I think in specific, women oftentimes will have even the subconscious feeling of feeling like they're not worthy to invest in themselves. And I think that's a question to ask yourself, right? And I think that with these programs, you're going to learn something. I mean, even if you read through, even if you're listening and you're like, oh, I've already done the Gallup Strength Finder, and oh, I've taken, Brittany's class on discovering your spark, and oh, and I actually already have a binder because I've taken Chris's class. You're going to learn something different because you're going to have 49 other spouses in the cohort that are going to bring something new into the room. And I think that if you're on the fence and you want permission to invest in your spouse, invest in yourself, invest in your spouse, your family, and your community, I'm going to give you that right now.
Yeah. And it's funny because the top thing, I was just taking notes, and the top thing that I was going to start with was saying that I think in general in nature, individuals struggle to invest in themselves. Secondary to that, women struggle even more in that to invest in yourselves. And then when you compound that with the lifestyle of being a military spouse, I think military spouses, we serve everyone else first. It's what does the military need? What does my spouse need in their job? What does the family need before it gets to ourselves? And that could even also be if you're employed outside of the home, it could be what does that job require? So investing in yourself. And one of the things that I teach within the cohort, but also outside, is I remind people of the mentality, it's not you first, it's you also. This is an opportunity for you to say, it's me too. I deserve an opportunity to learn something new. But while you're coming to this and it's a course to help you, you're going to help somebody else. You will end up sharing your story, sharing something that's going to impact the person to the left and right of you. And so what I hear a lot of military spouses say, and I have heard over the career of being a military spouse, is it'll be my time when they retire. It's your time right now. It was your time 10 years ago. Like, the time is any time that you're ready to say, I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let the military life tell me how to live my life. I'm going to live the life within the confines of military life. And I'm going to live it to the best of my ability. And I'm going to lead it the best that I can. I'm going to lead my family the best I can. I'm going to lead my community that I'm in for whatever season I'm here, and my profession. So that's what I would say. That's what you're going to get from this. You're going to walk away with something that you didn't have before you came.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so good. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to studying like weird things, like why is the culture going in this direction, and what are the variables that impact, why we think the way we do, why we behave the way we do, what's the impact of social media, or what's the impact of the newest generation wanting to lead differently, wanting their life to look differently than an older generation. So I really nerd out on that kind of data and information. And I was thinking, when you asked that question, I think it's really easy in a time of information overwhelm or information saturation that any one of us can go to a million YouTube channels or subscribe to somebody on social media that has answers for leadership or personal growth or financial wellness, or you name it. I know our group of girls here joke about perimenopause daily, right? Like, we can find a million different confusing sources of information on any topic. And so I think for some reason we think that it's easier if we go and patch together all the information that's out there to help us get to where we want to go, whether it's just the next step or the next answer, or like if you actually have a plan and a pathway that you want to go down. And I think I would just say, it is exhausting to do it that way. And if you
Like
don't
that on
have to do
demand.
it on
On demand.
demand, yeah, it is. And on demand, that's patched together in a very unorganized way, requiring you to do the hard work to figure out what you need, and piece together what you think you're supposed to have in order to, quote, be successful, when everybody on the planet has a different definition for success. And like we said, we're talking about here being a successful human being first, and then being a successful at, whatever else after that that's outside of you. This is not about making yourself the center of attention. It's just about you being worth your investment in being well, so that you can leave a legacy for the people that you care about the most. And so this program puts together all the necessary information that we have all agreed on as having walked a little bit of the path. And I think that MSAN has done a very good job over all the programs that they have, pulling together different people who have journeyed different kinds of paths of different versions of success, of what a leader could look like. Not so that you have to choose one of their paths, but that you're inspired to create your own path by getting the mentorship of all of these creatives that you are presented with and able to ask questions of. And so what I love about not just this program, but all the other programs, is that MSAN has put together what they have over the years thought through and decided these are some necessary building blocks that you might need to have in your kit bag, if you will, that will help you so that you don't have to exhaust yourself and go out and figure it out by yourself. This life can already be a lonely life to live. When you're constantly starting over, why stay in your little home office trying to piece together all this information where you can partner with, learn from other people, and then welcome into your life a family of other people to journey with, network with, and inspire. I know, and I think I can speak for Brittany and Krista too, we would not be doing anything that we are doing today had it not been for each other or other, especially military spouses, and dare I say our husbands, as well, lifting us up and wanting us to
All
succeed.
of them.
Yeah, wanting us to succeed. And so this program really, in essence, is designed to give you those people as well that are going to encourage you and want you to succeed. That's what I love. Last thing I'll say is that's what I love about this community. Rarely will you come across military spouses in this community that want to compete, because we all know how hard it is. And so we are generally very much about helping each other succeed, because why be an obstacle when there's already enough obstacles? So I hope that if you're listening, you will, if you haven't joined, that you'll consider joining the MSAN Hub, or being a mentor, or allowing yourself to be mentored, or maybe sign up for one of these programs where you can invite some very loving, warm people into your world and to journey with you. So thank you, Tony.
I think to add to that real quick, sorry, is MSAN, as Corey was saying, has thoughtfully put this program together on what military spouses need, or how they felt what they needed. And also because since 2013, you've been collecting the data, you've been listening to spouses, right? Whether it's through the mentorship, through the hub, at events, whatever that is. And this is what they've said that they needed. And so, we love Veronice, and we're so grateful to be able to work with her and you and the whole LIMS team. But if we didn't have what people needed, she wouldn't have brought us in. And so, we're just grateful that she's taken that the whole team has taken the time to be thoughtful about combing through all of the feedback that you get, which you get a lot of feedback from so many military spouses in your network, to be able to provide this.
It was an amazing discussion. I learned, again, like I talked about earlier, I learned so much, and I learned even more with this discussion, about, just how, challenging a military spouse lifestyle can be. And, I grew up witnessing that with my mother, but, to just hear other stories, but how you can turn those, you could turn those times into opportunities of leadership. It's just amazing. And I really love, Corey, that you mentioned that the military spouse community, it's very rare when someone is competing, because you know how hard it is, and it's about collaborating and helping everyone be the best version of themselves. And that's what the Emerging Leaders Program and LIMS and MSAN is all about. So thank you for bringing that up. I've had a blast with this discussion. Thank you so much again for taking time out of your busy day to be here today. And thank you to the listeners for tuning in and listening. And I hope that if you are on the fence about joining the Emerging Leaders Program, that this has swayed you. I could tell you personally that it is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and you're only going to learn from there. And if you want to keep up with LIMS, the Leadership Institute for Military Spouses, on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, be sure to go to Leadership for Mil Spouses. And there you could keep up with the Let's Talk LIMS podcast. You could keep up with applications that are coming up with specific programs, whether it's the Emerging Leaders Program, MSLDP, or the other programs. And you can also just keep in touch with other military spouses as well. And you get a chance to meet people, and it's an amazing opportunity. And before I sign off, I just want to say, look out for the next episode next month. And is there anything else that y'all would like to say?
Can't wait to see you.
Thank you, Tony.
I can't wait to see y'all too. And thank you so much. And until then, I will see you guys in the next episode.